These are both panfish rigs here, but I'm going to show you how to rig a, we'll call that a vertical hanging jig right there, okay? I would typically, to make it look more natural, either hook it just in front of the dorsal fin and relatively high, like so, because as that bait is sitting there, that bait is going to look more natural than it would if it was hooked like this through the mouth. So that just doesn't look too good. But in order to fish a minnow properly on a horizontal hanging rig like this here, it would make sense to hook that minnow through the mouth. Pretty small little jig, but just right there through the lips. And now the bait is going to hang, you know, more horizontally, just like that. As you have it down in the water and it's swimming, it would make more sense. So just a couple of different ways to hook your bait. Obviously this right here, this horizontal jig, you want to make sure that it's sitting horizontal. Sometimes you catch a fish and it ends up looking like that, okay? All you do is have to grab the bait and just tighten up the knot and bring it back a little bit, and then you've got it back to horizontal, where that bait is right in the fish's face. A little bit more tempting. And whether you're using minnows or Eurolarva, butterworms, waxworms, or whatever, that's the way that's supposed to hang. So, versus like that. On a jigging spoon like this, say we're walleye fishing, you can fish it a number of different ways. My preferred method is just to take the minnow, hook it under the mouth, and go back through the top of the head, and then I just pinch it off, just like that, okay? So we're just using the head of the minnow, which is just a smaller target. The fish comes up, and they grab it, and they've got hooks. Whereas if you have that full minnow on there, a lot of times they'll come up, and they'll hit it midway. You set the hook, and the minnow's gone, but you don't have the fish. So another way to do it that can work quite well too, but the hooking percentage probably isn't going to be as great, is with a vertical spoon like this. Same kind of deal, just hook it right through the dorsal fin, kind of high too. You don't want to pierce its organs so it doesn't live, but just like that. And like I say, the fish will come along. You know, if they're looking for a bigger, bulkier bait, a lot of times use the full minnow. But if you're finding the fact that the fish are finicky, you might want to go smaller bait. If the fish are super aggressive and they're just looking for anything in sight, like I say, I pinch that head off. You can catch more fish, and it's just, you don't have to replace that head every time either, whereas you would typically on a minnow like this that you're trying to keep alive. So here in Minnesota, we can fish two lines. A lot of people are jigging with one rod, and then you might want to set a tip up like this out in possibly deeper water, shallower water, whatever you're thinking. But bottom line is, when you're hooking a minnow on a tip up, and you've got a standard, this is a Gamakatsu hook here, Octopus. These fatheads are probably a little bit small for this, but once again, I'm taking that hook. I think you're best to just hook it right through the top of the dorsal again. So as it's sitting in the water, it's a little bit more horizontal, and as we get it into the water, it's going to swim up a little bit and look a little bit more natural. But once again, you don't want to take that hook and just pierce it through the middle of that body. You want that minnow. There's a reason we call this live bait, is we want it live. We want the fish to look at it and, you know, say, hey, that's the real thing. I'm going to go after it. So make sure you, you know, use some of these tips. You're going to catch more fish.